Hello, welcome to my bookshelf, and today I'll be doing my TBR for the month of February. And I can't believe that February is already here. And just one quick aside before I jump into my TBR, I just wanted to announce that on the 23rd of February, I will be celebrating my 1 year anniversary for being a YouTuber, which is just so cool to me. I can't believe I've been doing this for an entire year consistently. So if you have any ideas of what I should do for my 1 year anniversary, please let me know. I definitely want to do something. I honestly just don't know what. But moving on to why you clicked on this video in the first place, my TBR. So I recently decided that I was going to rein in my TBR and only do 5 books a month, but I have recently started reading every single day. So because of that, I feel very confident in adding another book to my TBR each month. All of that aside, let's actually jump into the book. So I have a unique way of coming up with my TBR that I just started, so I will kind of mention them as I go through each book. So the first one is actually just a random pick, but it really just fits with the theme of February. I thought romance, which unfortunately is not happening in my life personally, but at least I can pretend and live vicariously through the characters in the books and just kind of enjoy it that way. For that book, I am choosing to read the British Brides collection. Now, I should explain, this is an anthology that was gifted to me by one of my best friends who knows I love to read, but I will say that this is not a book that I would ever pick up for myself. I'm not really a big romance reader. It's just not my genre of choice, to be honest. But because it's a gift and I love my friend so very much, I figure this is a perfect opportunity for me to finally read this book, because I did get it a while ago now and I feel bad that I haven't read it, being such a big reader. So I figured, might as well bust it out for February. What a perfect time to read an anthology all about love stories. All of these books are set in the UK, predominantly in England, and then I guess there's some stories also set in Scotland. And then you probably can't read this, but on the back here, it gives you all the different stories and what year that they take place in. And if you can see the numbers, you'll know that none of these books take place anytime in the recent history. So the newest setting, or the closest to our time setting, is 1865. So we're back in the 19th century and previous. So the earliest book is set in 1358, the 14th century. So we're going way back in time to another country and hopefully finding some love. So wish me luck with this one. Okay, the next book on my TBR is a memoir, which I try to read at least one memoir every single month. It's one of the ways I pick my TBR. And, going along with, the February theme, I decided to pick one about love. Love conquers all, right? And that would be The Vow by Kim and Cricket Carpenter. Now, I watched the movie version of this, that was adapted from this book years ago, when it first came out. So I do have some vague memory of the movie, but it has been a while, and, when I watched the movie, I didn't know that it was based off of a book or a real story until, at the end, right before the credits, I'm pretty sure they show you pictures of, the real people. Obviously, this is a true story because it's a memoir. Cricket which is such an interesting name, by the way. But anyway, she was sadly in a car accident, and she lost her memory because she sustained some major head injuries. And so she loses her memory. Now, I don't know exactly the extent of her memory loss, to be honest. I don't remember off the top of my head, but I do know that she doesn't remember her husband at all. He is a complete stranger to her because she has no memories of him. Obviously, that's kind of a problem in a marriage. If you don't remember the person that you married, that kind of makes it awkward. So, at least the movie is kind of about them trying to fall in love again and figure out if this is gonna work and that kind of thing. So it's a really cool story, and obviously I'm curious to see if the movie took liberties with what's written in this memoir. I really don't know, and so I'm excited to finally read this book. And I think it's a perfect time with February and all that. Now, the rest of my books on my TBR don't follow the February love theme. at least not as far as I know. Because like I said before, like romance is not my genre of choice, and I was debating if I should pick like all romance books, and I realized that that could turn out to be like really horrible for me, because like what if I don't like most of the books I'm reading? And I'm like, I don't want to do that to myself. So I have 2 books that fit the February theme, and then everything else is just like books I want to read that fit my different categories. So jumping right on in. So every month I try to read at least one book that is part of a series, and I decided to start Artemis Fowl by Ian Colfer this month. This is technically going to be a reread. I did read this book back in middle school, so that was a long time ago. I barely remember it, to be honest. But I never continued on in the series, and I thought that now would be a good time to, you know, get back into it now that I've recently hauled the other books in this series. And if you don't know, our titular character, Artemis, he's 12, but don't let his age fool you, because he's like this criminal mastermind, genius, millionaire kid. And I guess he kidnaps a fairy, probably for some like nefarious plot, I don't really know. And I guess chaos ensues, you know, because obviously the other fairies want to get this fairy back, and so that's the main thrust of the plot. And obviously this is aimed at younger, you know, audiences, if you will, but I remember really liking it, and it sounds really fun, and I feel like I haven't read too many fantasy books, and I like that this is set in like our world, you know, kind of like how Harry Potter is more or less set in our world, but then there's like the hidden world of the Wizarding World, which is super cool. At least from what I remember, that's kind of how this is. Like, it's more or less our world, but then there's like these secret things you don't know about with magical creatures going on, which I think is really cool. So I'm excited for that. So I also try to read at least one nonfiction book each month, and previously when I just had 5 books, I kind of combined my memoir / nonfiction slot, and now I'm separating them. That's how I have 6 books now on my TBR. So this is my non-memoir, at least I don't think it's a memoir. Now this is kind of an unusual book, but I just thought it was a really cool idea, and I really don't know what it's going to be like, but it's going to be a fun adventure. It's called Life's Operating Manual. And I feel bad because I've seen Tom's name here, and I don't know how to say his last name, so I'm not even going to try to, you know, butcher that. But if you might recognize his name because he is a director, and he directed some of my favorite movies. So I'm looking on the back here. So he directed Ace Ventura, The Nutty Professor, Liar Liar, Patch Adams, Bruce Almighty. I'm sure there were other ones, but I love all of those movies. And obviously I was slightly surprised to see that like he had written a book, but then when I looked at it, I was like, this is kind of cool. So I guess he had a near-death experience, and it kind of got him thinking about, you know, these really deep, important questions about life and everything. And I think that this is like a collection of essays, dialogues, which I don't really know what that means, to be honest, but we're gonna see, discussing these really deep, important issues just about life, like what it's all about, I guess. I don't really know. I'll find out. I'll let you know. So I'm not really sure what to say about this book, because obviously I really don't know what it's like at this point, but it just sounds like a cool concept, and I wanted to read it. It's like labeled as inspiration, so hopefully I'll be inspired. Okay, so my next pick is fulfilling one of the 52 books in a year challenge. So there's, you know, 52 challenges, so you can read 52 books in a year. So I want to focus on one challenge every month to make sure that I pick books for those like harder challenges that I might not do accidentally. So this is my choice for that. So there's actually like 2 challenges I know off the top of my head that this could work for, because 2 of them have to do with water. So one is just like a book that has a title or cover picture that has water in it. And then the other challenge is a book that, like, the setting is in, on, or around water. So whichever one I'm struggling to fulfill, I can, you know, use this towards that challenge. So I picked The Woman in Cabin 10 by Ruth Ware. I've been excited about this book for a long time, though I have heard mixed things about it, so I'm a bit nervous at the same time, because I heard it gets kind of weird, which isn't necessarily a bad thing, so I'm hoping it's a good weird. I know this is a thriller. I really don't know a whole lot other than that. I'm pretty sure that there isn't supposed to be anyone in Cabin 10, but there is, right? That's like all I know about it. And then because it's a thriller, I'm assuming someone dies? But I could be wrong. And because it's a thriller, I really don't want to like try to like read the synopsis because that tends to like ruin the fun of the thriller. So I'm going to try to spare myself, but I'm excited about that one. And then I have one more book left in my TBR, and technically I've already like fulfilled this challenge, if you will. So every month I make sure that I read at least one author that isn't American, so I have like a little bit of diversity. I mean, I do hope to in the future have other kind of diverse books in this slot, but I have it pretty broad so I can use it in like lots of different meanings of the word diverse. So in this case it's just like nationality, but hopefully in future TBRs it'll be other kinds of diversity, which is also like super important. So this author's Australian, which I don't know if I've read a book from an Australian author, not that I'm aware of, so this is like momentous occasion. And it is The Slap, and I will just let you look at the author's name because again, I know I can't pronounce that, and there's no point in me just butchering this poor man's name. This sounds really interesting. So, first off, it was turned into some kind of miniseries, which is really cool just in and of itself. I guess the story's told from like 8 different perspectives. I mean, I'm assuming we're gonna get like the main event, you know, the slap, from every perspective, but I really don't know. At the very least, the slap. So what happens is, I guess a man slaps another couple's child at like a barbecue in the neighborhood, and lots of people are there. I'm not really sure the repercussions of that, or like how intense the slap was, or whatever. I really don't know. It'll be interesting to see, you know, what people all think about that, and I guess it's just like the events that happen after this slap. And yeah, we get to see 8 different people's perspective after that. So it sounds really interesting. Obviously it could go in a lot of different directions, and I think at the very least it's going to have some really interesting discussions. So yeah, it just sounds really interesting. Alright, so that is my TBR for the month of February. If I get very ambitious and finish all these books before the end of the month, I will of course turn to other books, but these are the books that I for sure want to get to in the month of February. So please wish me luck, and I just want to, as always, thank you guys so very much for watching this video, and until next time.